Welcome back, everybody. Today we have a pretty awesome show. We got to chill and talk to a local Louisville photographer, videographer, director, producer, a little bit of everything. He's worked on some pretty awesome projects. He's been doing it a while, and it was an interesting experience. It was a fun experience. So definitely hang out, and we're gonna let him tell you more about it. All right, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Ville Chillin. Today we have the opportunity of chilling with Derrick Spruill. He is a everything director, producer, photographer, videographer. Did I leave anything out? I mean, probably a few things.
Close enough.
So definitely happy to have this opportunity. Been looking forward to it. So absolutely, man. Thanks for joining. Gonna be a fun time. I think so. So I guess with that, we'll just jump straight in.
Right.
Well, I guess first you had just had a major release, right? A big project that was released. We want to start with that since it's fresh.
All right. Yeah. So I worked grip on a film last year in October. It just released in theaters and on streaming services. I think Amazon and Vudu. There might be a few other stream locations, but it's a feature film called Desperation Road.
Nice. And that's big names in that one, right? Mel Gibson and everything else.
Garrett Hudlin, Mel Gibson. Yeah, mostly the main actors in that one. But yeah, it was an incredible set to be on as well.
Awesome. And we can definitely talk more about it later, but since that's the most recent project, I figured we'd go ahead and throw that out there. So, I guess to get started, you told us that you got your start by making VR content, right? How was that experience and what made you start there?
Well, I guess like 2016, I never actually dabbed in VR before, virtual reality. And my brother had a headset for his PlayStation, so I ended up playing a few games on there. It just blew me away. So I ended up getting a PC VR version for at home.
Mm-hmm.
And then just browsing around games, I found this one in particular, which was just kind of blew my mind. The fact basically you could make 3D animations and then make it into video content just using VR, just really at a snap. And from that, it was in beta, so we had a contact with the founders of the business who made that software. And turns out a lot of them were actually filmmakers themselves out in, I think they're in San Francisco at the time. But yeah, so we started kind of connecting. You know, I made probably hundreds of videos using that program. So I ended up talking to one of the co-founders who kind of started giving me advice about storytelling, camera angles and stuff like that, just how to make things a little better. Then just kind of pushed me into filmmaking in general. So I started making longer stuff with it, some shorter form content. Then after about 2019, sadly, they came down to us, said, hey, we had to sell out to another company, so we can't have it open to the public anymore. So they basically shut down. So it kind of left me pretty empty and a lot of other people. But I did have my wife was a photographer at the time where she just kind of dabbed with this. So I kind of started using her camera, making some videos from there, then just kind of educated myself further, then just kept getting into videos after that.
I love that. So really your introduction into filmmaking started with video games, right?
Pretty much.
That is awesome. Dude, I've been watching the videos on the Random Thoughts and it's hilarious. Like I've been watching some of the different skits that you did and they're awesome. Like you wrote did you write those yourself or?
Yeah, pretty much. A lot of them are either just improv at the moment or just stuff that just came to mind really quick. Because I used to do a thing where I used to live stream a lot of games. So I had a whole streaming page on Facebook. Like basically when they started the program, the sharing stars and all that, I was one of the people starting out with that. Then basically I would do a live stream and have people send me some suggestions, basically just an improv. So I would just do like a quick clip for like 30 seconds of a short someone throw me some suggestions for. So some of the stuff came up with just that way.
And then you said your wife had the photography equipment and kind of got you more into actually producing like short films or music videos, right?
Well, I mean, about music, I was a musician for about 13 years as a drummer. So I did play a lot in the Louisville music scene. So I did have some connections there. And I just thought about, maybe, I saw some friends who did music videos. So I kind of jumped into it from there with a few friends. I did like a short film with just one guy I worked with and then some other person I was friends with just to kind of get things rolling. So it was just something I just kind of jumped into, but then still kind of grew and got educated more from there.
Love that. So your background in music really helped. Your background in music really helped catapult you, get you back into really growing the video production, right?
Yeah, I mean, it helped. Yeah, I mean, besides gaming, but it's like I've always been kind of on the creative side of things, so it's nice to have some kind of outlet for that. And like with that program at the time, it was so easy to do because the way they made it so accessible, it was amazing. Because I do some 3D animation as far as using generic software they use in these current films, but it's definitely not easy. There's a lot more to learn from there. It takes a lot more time, but just be able to just put a headset on and just speak through the microphone on it and move around and everything. It just picked everything up so fast and boom, just make a video.
That's awesome. You must have like amazing patience to get these ideas in your head and then, put them down, and then the whole post production, processing, like that's amazing that you're able to focus on all that.
So that's cool, man. It sounds like you just really had a long history in just being in front and behind the camera before you really even started doing it full time. So what were you doing full time, I guess, before you got into the video?
I mean, I still have it, but I have a degree in electronic engineering. So I was working for the Department of Defense. So it was a pretty good job, but I mean, just the whole, contracts end here and there, then they get bought out by other people. It kind of like the last contract we had with a certain company, which I won't say the name, but yeah, it got really rough. And when COVID came around, it really kind of exposed how much they really didn't care about the individuals working for them. And it just, luckily, I had my business. I started in 2020. I did have a pretty good base of clients. So after they let us go about halfway through the contract, I tried to go for another job, and it was just even worse. So I decided to just go full swing in the film production from there, just making videos, either commercials, music videos, whatever, like filming live, just working with different companies from there.
Which is good, though. I mean, it's giving you an awesome like portfolio, and I mean, you're doing something that sounds a lot less stressful than dealing with DoD, I'm sure. So
here and there, I mean,
he said depends on the day.
Has its moments, yeah.
What was that like? I mean, was that scary? Jumping all in, right? Was that something that you was just ready to do, or something that you had to think about?
I mean, I didn't really have a choice to think about it. I mean, as far as jobs, it just, I don't know, it wasn't easy to get work after that for some reason. Like, because the pay rate was so high for that company, and after that, no one wanted to pay anywhere near that. So it got to the point like, why am I even applying for these jobs? It's a waste of my time. But I mean, it was kind of terrifying, yeah. But I did have a pretty good amount of contracts at that point, so it wasn't too bad. And I do have a family too, so they pretty much the breadwinner of it. It makes it a little more stressful, but absolutely. I just got to keep at it.
Awesome. And it sounds like perfect timing and everything. It was just like the right timing when it was time to start doing this full time, right?
Oh, yeah. Especially with the tax incentives for films and stuff. That's when they started finally bringing films into Kentucky like crazy. So it really did help.
And one question I had, because I see you all over the place, is I assume like a lot of your fan base or your maybe even customer base comes from like social media. It seems like you really utilize social media a lot.
I mean, it does help. Yeah. I mean, because I'd like to go out to networking events whenever I can. Just like when I first started, I did go to a lot of local shows. So I would take a few clips from bands or take some photos, kind of network in that aspect. I mean, I'd find every way I can to network. But social media definitely makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's different, like LinkedIn would be more, professionals at that level, like as far as, reaching investors or some other companies through LinkedIn. Of course, Facebook has, their demographic, which I guess it is getting a little bit older now. It used to be a lot of younger people on there, but they're starting to say Facebook's for old people now, so that kind of sucks. But it's still a good way to reach out, though.
Yeah, that's something that we've noticed too. Is that it seems like Instagram's everyone's preferred thing right now. Facebook, but Facebook still gets a lot of activity too. So That's cool.
Oh yeah.
Something that I was kind of thinking before we get into a lot of your works is like, do you find yourself like drawing style or influence from any specific like person in film, or like any maybe older filmmakers or things that you just really admired or followed, or is this just something you just kind of draw your own inspirations?
I mean, I kind of grab from several different ones. I mean, I try to, in a way, kind of make my own style in some aspects. But yeah, I mean, there is some influences in different directors. Like a few recent ones is, I guess, James Gunn would be a big favorite one for me right now, as far as the shooting style. There's a few shorts I did that are kind of more like Wes Anderson kind of style. But like, I try not to stick to anyone specific or anything like that, because I do want to kind of make my own way.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and you already said it. You try to do things different and find different ways. And I mean, I think even just going back to the VR stuff, there was just so many different things there. You can tell there was a lot of creativity that goes into it.
Yeah, I was a big. Also, I watched a lot of Adult Swim too. I still kind of do here and there. So me, like Robot Chicken, kind of influenced some of those styles too, as far as just random comedic stuff or.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I said when we were watching it. It reminds me of Robot Chicken a little bit.
Yes, we grew up on definitely that Adult Swim, and that we could definitely see those random thoughts. Definitely
one of the the guy pretty much pushed me to. He used to work for that company. He used to work for FunnyOrDie.com as well. So yeah, he was a big fan of like Will Ferrell. It was a dream for him. He actually got to work with Adam McKay at that place too.
Oh, that's awesome!
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. So I guess we'll move into some of your actual works for a little bit. If talk about those.
Sure.
So Darren the Inspirer, was that your first major project when you got
pretty
into
much.
It?
Yeah.
And what do you have a history in wrestling, and were you like a wrestling fan as a kid? Did that impact doing this first, or was it just the story of who he is?
I mean, yeah, when I was younger, I was a big wrestling fan. Like me and my dad would stay up late. We used to watch OVW like early 2000s. That's when like John Cena, Batista, Brock Lesnar were all on there. Then of course I watched a lot of WWE or WWF at the time, and I just kind of fell out of it after I got into high school, as I got into music after that. But yeah, so the story behind me getting into actually making this, I answered, someone posted on Facebook in one of the film groups about they needed a video editor. So I went ahead and I managed to get a hold of him. I got his number. I gave him a call. And basically, he asked me about making a documentary about his life, but he wanted to use a bunch of GoPro footage on the side of the ring. And I pretty much had to explain it's like, that's not going to be a very good documentary visually. So I talked him into actually letting me shoot interviews, try to gather, people he trained with, some friends. And he managed to get a small grant from the Fund for the Arts locally here. So, I mean, it wasn't anything too pricey or anything. It's just enough to kind of, put a lot of my time into it, enough to make it. So, yeah, I spent about 5 months filming it, kind of going to some of his training sessions, going to the events. So I kind of used a little bit of the story of they were using because they'd have the events once a month. So it did take a little longer because of that. But they had kind of a storyline while he was in there. Had a guy picking on him for being blind. Then they end up attacking him during one of the matches. And at the end, him and his partner finally get in there and manage to beat the guy. So, because when I put this together, I got a bunch of footage, and then I realized how am I going to turn this into a story?
Yes, well, and it's
I kind of used that and kind of worked around it. Then, of course, I interviewed him for about an hour and a half, so it gave me a lot of information about his life, a lot of stuff that went on. So put it together from there. But yeah, it was my first feature film. I wasn't expecting to make it that long, but it actually could have made it a little bit longer. But it was pretty good amount of time for the subject, and he got a lot out there. He wanted the people to see.
It was great. That's how we found you. I guess it was about a year ago. I went and saw him wrestle over there in Indiana, and then like a week later, I feel like I saw your film I saw it being promoted on Facebook, and I don't know if I saw it on Vimeo or what the first time. It was on one of the streaming platforms, but awesome video. I saw like some of the drone footage you did was great. And then just hearing Darren talk definitely is inspirational.
Oh yeah,
Awesome.
it changed me just to be able to hang out with them. That's one thing I noticed about it too. We get to hang out a lot. Yeah, see, I even I explained to him he's the first blind person I've ever met. So there's a lot of nuances I had to get used to, just like not saying certain things.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't think I saw the whole thing, but I definitely saw bits and pieces, and I can't even imagine the level of work that went in, like filming, let alone editing, and like you said, putting the story together. So for a first major production, I think it was pretty awesome.
Amazing.
Thank you.
And so from there, you went to Malum, right? That was kind of your next big one. And so what did you do for that project, and what was that like?
So it was my first major film I've ever worked on a set for, because this is when the tax executives started coming in Kentucky, so these bigger films started coming in. This one was being filmed the same time that Muzzle was being filmed. Was another film they shot downtown. I just released 2 weeks ago. But so on this one, I did unit photography, which is basically just taking stills like while they're filming, and just a few shots of the actors here and there that they use for magazines and promotions. Then I also did B-roll, so they had me do photos and video. So the B-roll basically for that was just behind the scenes. So they had a trailer that includes some of the shots I took, and then the Blu-ray, which I'm still waiting on because I pre-ordered for it. It's supposed to have a whole thing of behind the making of the film and stuff they put together for it. But it's basically worked on that for about 3.5 weeks. We shot most of it in a shutdown police station on 7th Street. And like we went to a farm in Shepherdsville one night and a Louisville Armory for 2 nights. And then they wrapped up after that. I think they came back in January, did a few reshoots, but yeah, it was an amazing experience. It was a little stressful because first time on a major film set, there's a lot of working parts, a lot of people running around. Got to make sure you stay out of the way and get the shots I need to get. The producers kind of followed me around a bit just to make sure I was getting certain things they wanted. But it was a great experience. I mean, luckily the type of position I had wasn't as stressful as it could have been. Yeah. For being an actual set for the production, because then it's like, yeah, you got to be there every second, know exactly where you got to be, get things rolling. But yeah, it was definitely a really good first experience on a film set.
That's awesome. I think I saw one of your posts the other day, a clip of, or maybe I saw it somewhere, a clip of, I think you called it one of your favorite scenes right there that you got to do with the bat. So that was...
Yeah, okay. They did about 3 takes. I caught it in like slower motion each time. They loved it.
Yeah.
So it's like, yes. Yeah, it's like the opening scene of the film because it shows it's like a found footage kind of shot. So they went from using an $80,000 camera to a little handheld camcorder. It's like, oh, we're going to throw this in there too. It's like, so they got a bunch of shots. It's like these women that are a part of this cult. Then one of them, I guess, gets their head bashed in with a bat and gets eaten by a pig.
Yes.
That's pretty much how the movie starts.
And then it just goes from there, I guess.
Welcome to the show. And like the main actress was Jessica Sewell. She was in the show Skin. She was in the movie Split. She was one of the girls kidnapped.
Split was awesome.
She was really nice. Like that's one of my first experiences, like meeting like working with an actual actress and stuff. So I didn't know what to expect some guy from Kentucky meeting some of these Hollywood people. But it was a great experience. Everybody's pretty nice on that set. And
so that's kind of interesting that you just said that, because I was kind of wondering that too. You're just a guy from Kentucky. Like, is that, I guess that's kind of how you felt when you were first there and everything, and then just let your work speak for itself and go from there, right?
It was a little intimidating. Like, to be honest, I got it because I answered like most things. I answered the Facebook ad, and I managed to get on that set for that. It was one of the actresses. I guess she was involved in helping get crew too, but she got me on there. She had a role in the film as well, so it was kind of nice meeting her. She's more local though, so it's kind of nice. Some of these people they're local here too. Even some of the crew, because when they come here, they have to hire about, I think, 50% local Kentucky people to be on the set as part of the tax incentive. So it helps us get some work, paid gigs and stuff for these bigger films too.
That's awesome. And I think I saw, interestingly enough, I guess another one of your posts talking about how it's, I guess, commonplace for people wanting commercials and stuff to like hire companies out of state, and then they just end up subcontracting people in state anyways. I guess that's just a pretty common thing that seems wild to me. Like, there's plenty of talent here. So
yeah,
Definitely support your local businesses, people. Check here first.
Because I worked. I mean, there's jobs all the time that come in from the state. They're like, hey, we need a camera person or an AC assistant camera for this gig, and then it turns out everyone's from LA. It's like all these people we have here,
right?
And then some people they'll just hire everyone from local, and it is just some company in California that hired everyone. I don't know, but. Yeah, I'm not starting any beef with anyone because there are some people from LA that I know here as well that kind of fly back and forth.
Absolutely. I just mean definitely not about any one person. It's just like that's just the industry standard. That's definitely because I mean that's definitely what we're here to do is try to promote local. So it was interesting to read that. So yeah, I guess with that, do we want to move on to your experience working on Desperation Road, which we kind of started with? How was that? You said the last one was stressful or kind of intimidating.
Well, so it's funny because so one of my friends who's currently my business partner, he got a grip position on Desperation Road, and then a few days before they started filming, he ended up hitting me up since I was pretty much open schedule and I was ready for it. It was about another 3.5 weeks, and he ended up putting me on grip, which was stressful enough because I didn't really know specifically what a grip did.
And I was actually going to ask that. I have no idea. So
basically I had a YouTube how to make a bunch of different knots and then learned about a lot of the equipment, different kind of clamps and rigs for cameras. So basically they came in with a truck from LA that was full of like different grip equipment. So just like light stands, different flags for, diffusing light or blocking light. They had different size sheets for that. Then they had, of course, sandbags, which they called, some people call dirt, or they have different names for it. So it was a little stressful because even though I was trying to learn all these terms, when I got on set, a lot of them changed suddenly because they had different names for it out there in LA.
Yeah.
So, I mean, fortunately, the two guys you got the best boy grip, and then you have the key grip as the main person on top of it all. They were both really incredible people to work with. They're natives from LA, so they have years of experience, but they were really patient with me, trying to catch up on the lingo. But it turned out being a pretty good set. Most of my job I was a spotter, which means that when the camera operator had a steady cam, which is that you'll see them wear a vest and there's this arm coming out holding like a rail with the camera on top. It's called a steady cam setup. Basically, the person behind them has to stand behind them and spot them in case they walk backwards because they're looking down at this little monitor near the ground. So they can't really see like if they're going side to side or anything. So basically just watch out, make sure they don't trip and fall because they basically have a $200,000 rig they're holding on to. You don't want them to drop.
No stress.
Yeah, no stress.
So the majority of that film, I'm behind the camera too, even though I'm not operating it.
Yeah.
So it was really great because I got to get close to the actors. And what really shocked me was that when I went on set, I didn't look at the full call sheet and I had no idea Mel Gibson was on there. So before I even seen him, I heard him talking on the set and I about lost it from there. Because my parents, like when I grew up, my dad was like a huge Braveheart fan. So the fact I called him that night, like, you're not going to believe this.
Yeah, that's amazing. I definitely grew up on like Braveheart, the Patriot, things like that. So,
and Ryan Hurst is on this set too. I think he was in the Patriot as well, but he's also in like Sons of Anarchy and stuff like that. He was really big dude. Like, I didn't really get to talk to him much. I mean, I was a random a bit, but I mean, everyone on there was still pretty nice. Kind of crack jokes and stuff between sets. So that was another good experience. It wasn't as big of a cast as the most recent one I worked on, but it was still a great experience. I learned a lot, especially for like just working on sets, filming, about lighting, and just met a lot of great people.
That's cool. It's always good to get like on the job experience that you can carry over to anything new up and coming. So seems like that's kind of how you've approached a lot of what you're doing, which is
pretty much
it takes a lot of work, but it's also so rewarding in the end. So yeah, that's really cool. And so I guess like recently, what are you working on recently? If you can talk about it, I guess.
I can. I mean, it's been on the news a few times anyway.
Okay.
So last summer, I started back in May working on this film called Queen of the Ring. And I got luckily one of the producers I worked down the hall from here at the studio. She managed to recommend me for this other guy who's actually wasn't hired by the production itself, but it was like a friend of the director. Basically hired me to do behind the scenes for the whole entire film. And I'm also shooting a documentary on top of that, kind of about the similar subject. So basically it's about it's kind of a biopic of Mildred Burke, which is one of the first like famous female wrestlers back in the early 1930s. And her manager, Billy Wolf, who ended up being her husband as well for a short time. But it was kind of like it's a pretty abusive relationship type thing through the whole story. So it involves a lot of other women who got into wrestling as well, became pretty famous. There's about one of them was on WWE when she was 80 wrestling.
Wow.
Which, yeah. When I was younger, I didn't know like who these two old women like wrestling. Turns out one of them was like one of them famous back then who started as well.
Wow,
But,
that's wild.
yeah, so basically I was on that for about 9 weeks. They were filming for about 6 of them, but for 3 weeks I got to go to OVW and film and train to prepare for their roles because they actually had to learn wrestling because they were actually going to go in there and do some wrestling moves for the film. So that was really awesome. Got to meet Al Snow a few times up there. He was helping them train. Of course, Doug Basham was up there majority of the time. Got to meet the stunt coordinators. So it was probably the best experience I ever had at a film set. So it's the first time I actually got close to the cast and got to really talk with them and hang out. But yeah, it was an adventure. Like we had a few hiccups here and there. The storm came through one day, so we had to evacuate the Oxmoor Mall.
Oh.
So it was a little chaotic, but yeah, it was definitely awesome. I mean, especially having that type of job again, where I'm just doing behind the scenes. I don't have to get too involved in the production part of it. I'm kind of shooting my own thing. And I'm doing basically right now, I'm putting together the whole making of the film. So we got to do interviews with all the cast and some of the crew and stuff from there as well.
Okay, that's cool. So when does that come out?
I have no idea.
Yet? Don't know yet.
It'll be sometime next year, I hope.
Yeah. Okay. Man, that's wild too, because that's another reason I kind of asked the wrestling question earlier is, and you had mentioned this, and we saw who she was. That was that's why I was like, there's a theme here with there and the Inspirer and then her and then I know Jack liked it because he's I
grew up a big wrestling fan. Also, I used to go to OVW all the time.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, excuse me. So that's the latest thing. Do you have any like upcoming plans, or are you just still wrapping that up and that's the main focus?
Still working on that, and of course the documentary. Getting anything set up for that. The guy who hired me is planning on bringing some productions next year, so I'm still waiting to hear some more info on that. But there's still some time. Like right now, like I'm just mainly working on the documentary, so we're still setting up interviews for that, getting that filmed, and then at some point I'll start putting that together.
And in your free time in between those kind of production projects, you take on like music videos and other projects in your free time.
Yeah,
right. Like
anything involving a camera, basally.
Awesome. I love it. I've been listening with that one song. There's a song you produced the music video for, the nicotine withdrawal.
Oh yeah, with the Kill Warrior.
Yes, yeah. I didn't want to mispronounce. I didn't know his name. Yes. So I've been listening to that on repeat. You did awesome on that. How did you come up with the name for the Forsake Media? Is that right?
Again, back in the day, it kind of goes with my band days because, like, my very first band we put together, it was like back in high school. It was called Forsaken. So it's kind of a tribute to that in a way. Nice. And I was just like using number 4 made it a little bit different. So it kind of worked with the logo a little bit better. But I mean, that's kind of what it came down to. I mean, plus just kind of personal experiences of like trying to, like some friends that just eventually just abandoned me or just, won't go too much into that.
Oh, you're good. That's awesome.
I know it just kind of slipped out that way.
Awesome.
But
that's really cool. So I guess if anybody needs any music videos or, local work, commercials, right? You've done some commercials. What are some of the commercials that you've done? Were there any that you like particularly enjoyed or?
I mean, most recent one I kind of did was for, I guess, an eye surgery doctor. There's that one there. And I did a few for 21st in Germantown. It was like a local venue. Did a few different ones for them. Other ones I mostly did for companies. Like I used to like one company I had contract with for about a year. We actually flew out to New York and did a couple commercials for one of their online schools, which basically they bought out another company through their company. So we ended up interviewing some of their former workers and did their it's kind of little talking head videos. I mean, it's a great experience. I mean, I don't talk to the person anymore who took me up there for personal reasons, but it was a great experience as far as like in the travel. I'm actually paying for everything, so I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
So we only filmed for a little bit. The rest of the time we just kind of hung out, just kind of walked around Manhattan. So it's a pretty fun experience there. But I mean, it just, I kind of chipped in and helped people out as a second cam for some commercials, like for a solar panel company out in Indiana. I helped with like one campaign before, just kind of, little things here and there.
Building up the portfolio.
Pretty much.
That's awesome though. I think it's, while we touched on some of the major things, you've obviously done so much more than that. So it's been awesome to be able to hear that and hear your story and learn a little bit more about how you got into all of it. Definitely. I mean, I thought just the VR stuff was hilarious and better than anything I could do. I'm not in that creative space, but then for you to come this far, man, it's pretty awesome. It's an awesome story for somebody, from Kentucky, like you said.
Yeah.
That's everything we're trying to do. So, do you have anything, Jack? That's all that I had.
No, we really appreciate you being on the show. It's been awesome.
No problem. Thanks for inviting me.
Is there anything else you want to shout out or promo? Anything we haven't covered or?
Probably not at the moment.
Okay, well,
I mean, just kind of get things pick up right now.
Yeah,
that's it. Waiting for these strikes to be over would be great, because there was a lot of films lined up to start actually like a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them got pushed to spring.
Oh man!
So hopefully they're talks right now. They're hopefully going to settle it this week with SAG, and then we can kind of keep going from there. But it definitely shot a lot of stuff down, which really sucks. Because like on Queen of the Ring, we managed to. We were one of 39 films in the country to get a waiver. So that our last week of filming, we barely, we missed one day because we had to send the waiver, and as soon as it hit the clock, it was like 3:01 here. Everybody had a walk-off set. But then, things picked up on Monday. So luckily it did work out for that to finish it up. But hopefully SAG gets their stuff straightened out, or, they get what they want, and then hopefully we can settle this week and get things rolling again.
Sooner the better, definitely.
Yeah, it's always tough, especially when, like you said, you kind of rely on working to pay the bills and provide for family. So, can't work, then it makes all that hard. But yeah, I mean, hopefully they pick it up soon and you can get back to that. I guess until then, hopefully you get some music videos or commercials or something to help along the way. Yeah. But hopefully it'd be better for everybody across the board, I think, if they can come to an agreement. So, I guess if you have end up with any projects down the road that you want to talk about or anything like that, just let us know. We'd happy to talk again or dive deeper into some of these other things. That's maybe watch Desperation Road and chat about that or something. So it was awesome talking to you, and we'd definitely love to talk to you again.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right.
Thank you, Derrick.
Right.
Well, I guess with that, we'll call that a wrap, and we'll see everyone next time.